So I want to talk about what's going on in Syria because it might be that the events that are unfolding are pretty monumental, quite frankly, as we'll see in a moment. But honestly, the Syrian Civil War, all the different factions going on here, are honestly a mess. You are talking factions within factions, wanting different things, looking at different ways they want to do this. Um, Even if they, shall we say, manage to remove the Assad government, there's still no, shall we say, guarantee that the Syrian civil war will end, because it may now just come to that these different factions that are in the, that are currently, clumped, you know, tied together through, shared hatred of Assad. When he is gone, that now comes undone. What then happens there? I don't know, but you know, we'll see. But the Syrian civil war has obviously been now raging really for well over a decade. You're talking 12, 13 years going on at this point. And it all goes back to the Arab Spring, if you may remember that a very, very, very long time ago. Obviously, the Syrian people rose up and said, we want free and fair democratic elections in Syria. We want to get rid of Assad. We do not want him in charge anymore. We want red. And instead of Assad listening to that, allowing these to take place, basically crack down hard, very, very hard on protesters. And his, forces opened fire on protesters, and that really sort of kickstarted the Syrian civil war. However, since then, it has become a mess. Like I say, you've got literally, factions that hate each other but are working together because they might hate each other, but oh boy, do they hate Assad more. So before we go looking at the map and sort of what's happened and why now in particular this has happened, like I say, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page, the one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there's the Pony Club down below as well. So let's crack on then, have a look at this map. There you go. So this, if you had ever looked at a live map of the Syrian Civil War, this is predominantly what you would see. Very, very little of this map had moved. And predominantly you can see the three, four-ish different colors going on here. But the ones we are really talking about is, of course, first of all, the red. This is the Assad government. This is what sort of they control. And sort of the greenish part up in northern Syria, those are mainly Muslim militants that have sort of come together on this. The yellow part is, I believe, Kurdish. Again, mixture of, again, all different sort of factions in here as well. And of course, I think the gray, might be ISIS, from what I remember from that. But the good thing about this, everyone hates ISIS, so they don't, shall we say, get too much traction in all this. But this had been, of course, the continuing state of play. Whereas now, if we go to the up-to-date live map of Syria, this is what you have. Oh, hang on. So they have taken this huge chunk of territory. They've taken Aleppo. It's again big city that Assad had in charge. And not only have they taken Aleppo, but they've also now pushed further south. And they are looking now, potentially, maybe even tomorrow, maybe in the next couple of days, but again, taking another big city called Hama, again, just further south. But if they do this, this will be a very, very big victory for this militant group. Very big victory for them. And the thing is, the Assad forces have nothing. They aren't standing up to this. They aren't running. There's rumors. Bear in mind, Assad has gone. No one, I think, can confirm where Assad is. They don't know whether he is still in Syria. They don't know whether he is Iran. They don't know whether he is in Moscow. Where in the world is Assad? Where in the world is Assad? Who knows, really, at this point? But the big thing is why did this all of a sudden happen? And this is because for years during all the civil war, Assad and his government have pretty much been propped up by three really key things. First of all, probably the biggest one for them is Russia. Russia sees sort of Syria very, very much so as sort of on its southern flank. It views them as a big ally that it has in the region. And the last thing Putin wanted was to let the Assad government fall. So there has been significant Russian military presence in that region for quite some time. However, because of Ukraine, because of Putin, throwing himself on his sword there, the Russian military presence is next to now nothing. There's planes, but they haven't been refueled or had any supplies, or if they have, they've been flown back to Russia to be used in Ukraine. There's very little sort of missiles because, again, all sent to sort of be used in Ukraine. So when these attacks happened, the Russian military, the Russian Air Force there couldn't respond because they had nothing to respond with. So ultimately, once again, just as we saw in the very early conflict with just again 2 years ago now, the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan, where Armenia had security guarantees from Russia, and Russia basically stood back and did nothing as Azerbaijan just came in and just claimed territory from them. It seems the exact same thing seems to have happened here with the Russians. The other, of course, is Hezbollah in Lebanon. They've been sending troops to support Assad as well. But given the recent conflict they've had with Israel, they can't really afford to, send troops there anymore. The third one is, of course, is Iran. Iran has said that it will support Assad's government. How much support that actually means in practice, we don't know. I don't think they're going to really support. I think it's anything. It seems to be so far mainly, we'll support Assad's government. Whether they will give them money, supplies, material, personnel, who knows? That so far hasn't been very forthcoming. The big one, of course, is what happened to Assad. We don't know. We don't know where he is. We don't know if he's still in Syria. We don't know if he's in Moscow. We don't know if he's in Tehran. We don't know if he's even in Lebanon. We don't even know if he's still in the country anymore. But he's out there somewhere. But meanwhile, this has been a massive victory. And like I say, in the space of a week, taking potentially 2 major cities is a big victory for these people. But one thing, as we said, that unites all these factions is their hatred of Assad. Now, the hope is generally that you could bring about an end to this civil war once you remove Assad. That is certainly the hope. And I think this is something where the UN needs to sort of step in. If Assad leaves, if his government falls, then at that moment, the UN needs to come in and say, right, Assad is gone. Your biggest sort of number one goal has been achieved. Sit down, have a talk around, the table, and come to an agreeable peace where you can sort of restore, democracy. Again, bear in mind, not all these people want to restore democracy. So, on that one, but it is something that is should be said. Turkey themselves do have a vested interest in this. They have had huge refugees fleeing not only through Turkey, through India, well, not through India, but through Greece, from Syria for years. Finally, bringing peace to Syria will be very, very good, because that will mean all those asylum seekers, all those migrants that fled Syria will move back. We've seen this happen before. We saw it happen in Bosnia. 95% of all asylum seekers, of all refugees, returned to Bosnia after the conflict had finished. So there is a very, very much vested interest in not only all of Europe coming together to see peace finally form from this, like I say, that is the hopeful, optimistic version take of this. What will happen, of course, in the future, we don't know. But maybe now, after over a decade of fighting and civil warring, maybe finally, there can be some peace and stability re-brought back into this region. Um, Again, that's the most optimistic version, and I'm all about. So that is my hope, certainly, that finally peace can sort of return to this region. Um, we'll see what happens in the next couple of days, but they are making a lot of progress. And it's very likely that probably, who knows, maybe the next couple of days, they might take another city. And at that point, what's Assad going to do? And where is he? You know, um, but it's certainly now in his interest to go to the table in a lot weaker position than he was before. A lot weaker position than he was before. So he's certainly going to have to make a lot of concessions. That's true, but we will wait and see what happens. But this is a very, very big development on this front. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, like I say, click the like, click the share buttons down below. Check out the links down below, the Pony Club as well. And of course, we'll see you all next time.